It came as a shock to Pawn Stars fans when rumors spread that Richard Kevin Harrison, better known as Rick Harrison, had been given a life term in prison. Rick, renowned for his direct approach in business and extensive knowledge on the show, unexpectedly faced significant legal issues, a development no one had anticipated for years. Pawn Stars kept viewers interested by showing the interesting world of pawn dealing, tough negotiations, and the daily drama inside Rick Harrison's famous Las Vegas pawn shop. But now Rick's successful TV career has taken a dark and unexpected turn. What did he do to deserve such a harsh punishment? Stay tuned as we look into what happened in Rick's life to cause this big change and the whole shocking case. Richard Kevin Harrison is a famous American businessman and TV personality. He was born on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina. When he was only 2 years old, his family moved to San Diego, California, where he spent most of his youth. Rick started having seizures when he was 8 years old. Because of this, he spent a lot of time as a child reading books, which helped him learn a lot about history, which later helped him in his work. Rick's early life wasn't easy. His battle with epilepsy meant he often missed school, eventually dropping out during his sophomore year of high school. This setback, however, didn't diminish his ambition or his thirst for knowledge. Instead, he devoted himself to self-education, devouring books on a wide range of subjects, particularly history and business. This autodidactic approach would later become evident in his encyclopedic knowledge, displayed on Pawn Stars. In his teenage years, Rick began working alongside his father in various business ventures. He developed a keen eye for value and authenticity, skills that would prove invaluable in his future career. At the age of 17, Rick's girlfriend Kim became pregnant, prompting them to marry. The young couple would eventually have 2 sons, Corey and Adam, before divorcing. After 8 years of marriage in 1981, Rick's family relocated to Las Vegas, Nevada, where his father, Richard Benjamin Harris, known as the Old Man, opened the gold and silver coin shop in 1981. The business eventually evolved into the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop in 1989, which would become the setting for Pawn Stars. Decades later, the transition from a coin shop to a pawn shop was strategic, as the Harrisons recognized the potential for higher profits in the pawn business. The early years were challenging, with Rick and his father working long hours to establish their reputation in Las Vegas. In the early 2000s, Rick had to deal with difficult customers and sometimes dangerous situations. These events made him stronger and helped him get better at negotiating. Rick was famous in Las Vegas for knowing a lot about different kinds of collectibles and old things. People heard about the pawn shop as a place to find strange and valuable things, which brought in both locals and tourists who saw the business's entertainment value. Following years of rejection and persistent efforts, Rick finally got a deal with the History Channel in 2009. Pawn Stars began airing, following the daily operations of the gold and silver pawn shop. The show featured Rick, his son Corey "Big-O's" Harrison, his father Rich "Old Man" Harrison, and their friend Austin "Chumley" Russell, as they evaluated bought and sold items of historical significance and questionable value. The show quickly gained popularity, transforming Rick from a local pawn shop owner into a TV star, with his catchphrase being "straight talking." His friendly personality and deep understanding of historical objects made him a fan favorite. Rick's famous "the best I can do" line became famous as he talked with people who wanted to sell their treasures. What set Pawn Stars apart from other reality shows was the educational aspect that Rick insisted upon. Each episode featured historical information about the items brought into the shop, with Rick often providing detailed context and background that showcased his vast knowledge. This approach appealed to a broad audience, making the show one of the History Channel's most successful programs. Under Rick's guidance, the pawn shop expanded its business, attracting tourists from around the world who hope to catch a glimpse of the stars or even appear on an episode. Merchandise sales soared, and Rick capitalized on his fame by writing books, making personal appearances, and even opening a restaurant. The success of Pawn Stars catapulted Rick into a new realm of celebrity. He appeared on numerous talk shows, was featured in magazines, and became a sought-after speaker at business events. His rags to riches story resonated with many Americans, and his straightforward business advice gained him respect beyond the entertainment industry. As the face of Pawn Stars, Rick was well known for his company. He was the voice of reason on the show, often stopping his son Corey from making big purchases or Chumley from getting into trouble. He and his father had a mutual respect that came from working together for years. When his father died in 2018, Rick showed his respect by continuing to run the business with the same principles that his father had taught him. During the height of Rick's popularity on Pawn Stars, his personal life had its ups and downs. After his first marriage ended, he married Tracy Harrison, and they were together for 27 years before getting a divorce in 2011. In 2013, Rick married Deanna Biddett in a ceremony officiated by his Counting Cars co-star Danny Coker, with Chumley serving as the ring-bearer. Rick's family life was mostly kept private, but it was sometimes brought up on the show, showing how dedicated he was to his family despite the demands of fame and business. In addition to running the pawn shop, Rick opened Rick's Rollin' Smoke Barbecue and Tavern at Pawn Plaza, which is next to the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. He also co-wrote the 2011 book licensed to Pawn Deals, Steals, and My Life at the Gold and Silver, which was about his life and business philosophy. Throughout his career, Rick was always on the lookout for new ways to build his brand and his business empire. On Pawn Stars, Rick showed a wonderful ability to find value where others might miss it. Viewers watched as he looked at everything from old cars and historical papers to modern collectibles. He seemed to know a lot about many things, but he often called in specialists when he didn't know enough about them. This showed that he was smart like a manager and knew the limits of his knowledge. Rick has bought and sold many things on the show. Some of the deals he got were great. While some weren't as good, his knowledge of guns, watches, and American history things often led to good deals. He consistently turned small investments into significant profits for the shop. One of his most famous purchases was a 2001 New England Patriots Super Bowl ring that he bought for $2,600 but was worth a lot more. Another famous purchase was a set of Spanish gold doubloons that were found in the wreckage of a ship in 1715, showing that he was interested in both history and valuable coins. Despite his interest in valuable coins and history, Rick faced challenges in his life, primarily due to his own decisions. To be honest, his legal problems started in 2023 when federal agents raided his Las Vegas home as part of an investigation that had been going on for months. At first, the public wasn't told what the investigation was about, which led to a lot of speculation online. Fans and even people close to Rick were shocked by the raid. FBI agents, IRS investigators, and representatives from the Department of Cultural Heritage Protection carried out search warrants at both Rick's home and the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. Employees and customers who were at the shop during the raid were temporarily detained while agents took computers, documents, and a number of items from the inventory. Witnesses say that Rick's son Corey, who was at the shop during the raid, later said that it felt like something out of a movie. Rick stayed relaxed as agents let him out of his house. He kept his cool even though neighbors took pictures on their cell phones, and the video quickly spread across the internet. Internet sites. As more information came in, it became clear that the police were looking into claims of a complex tax evasion scheme, money laundering operations involving high-value items going through the pawn shop, and dealing in artifacts that were illegally acquired. Financial institutions initiated the investigation by reporting suspicious transactions and receiving complaints from former business partners. In the weeks after the raid, the History Channel stopped making Pawn Stars and said they were keeping an eye on the situation and would make the right decision as more information came in. As the investigation went on, the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop stayed open, but it had a lot fewer customers because Rick was being investigated for possible wrongdoing. Initially, Rick's representatives vehemently denied any wrongdoing, asserting that the investigation was merely a misunderstanding that would soon resolve. Rick's famous lawyer, David Marshall, who is known for representing famous people, told the public that Rick had always run his businesses honestly and in full compliance with all laws. But as the investigation went on, troubling details emerged, suggesting that Rick had been involved in a complex scheme to undervalue certain historical artifacts for tax purposes while selling them privately at their true market value. Investigators also said Rick had bought stolen historical items through middlemen, including important historical documents and artifacts from museums and private collections. According to court documents that were later made public, the investigation was partly started by a former employee who had worked closely with Rick on the acquisition of several high-value items. This employee told authorities about a separate bookkeeping system Rick allegedly used for transactions he wanted to keep off of the official records. Rick was arrested but released on bond the next day. He was due in court a few days later to face multiple felony charges, such as tax evasion, money laundering, dealing in stolen property, and plotting to trade cultural artifacts that were obtained illegally. His lawyer, David Marshall, confirmed that Rick strongly denied all charges and would fight them in court. The legal battle that followed lasted almost a year, and Rick insisted he was innocent the whole time. However, as more evidence came in and former associates testified against him, his position became more and more precarious, and the prosecution presented financial records, encrypted messages, and statements from former workers who said Rick told them to change paperwork for certain expensive items. They also showed proof that he had set up offshore accounts to hide the money he made from some very profitable deals. A string of text messages between Rick and an unknown supplier talking about how to get rid of an 18th-century document that was thought to have been stolen from a university archive in a different exchange was forceful proof. During the pre-trial hearings, Rick is said to have talked about how to set up a sale so that it wouldn't have to meet the requirements for reporting big cash transactions. Rick's public image stayed defiant. He went on several right talk shows and said he was being targeted because of his political views and success. His fans came together to support him, making Free Rick hashtags and planning protests outside of the courthouse while hearings were going on. Rick's worst moment came when he broke the law, which shocked a lot of people who saw him as Pawn Stars' smart, honest businessman. The arrest report for Pawn Stars says that Rick Harrison was just released from prison. In fact, he was much more cunning than most people thought. His legal problems showed a different side of his personality, and the surprises didn't stop there. Many people were quick to judge him, but they were wrong. According to news reports, Rick emphasizes the importance of remembering that everyone deserves compassion during difficult times. Many loyal fans have set up support groups on social media, emphasizing that Rick's positive impact on their lives through his educational approach on Pawn Stars deserves recognition, no matter what the charges are. Rick made me love history in a way that school never could. One fan knows it's our turn to show him we remember the good he's done. If Rick's work has touched you over the years, you might want to join one of these online support groups. The room was quiet as the sentence was read. Rick, who had stayed calm during the hearing, looked like he was losing his cool. Corey, who was sitting behind him, put his hands over his head. Chumley, who had been to every day of the trial and been there to support his boss, was seen leaving the courtroom quickly, crying. The sentence shocked many lawyers, who questioned its fairness in light of the committed crimes. However, the judge made it clear that the sentence was fair because it took into account both the financial crimes and the irreparable damage that Rick's involvement in trafficking stolen artifacts did to historical and cultural heritage. Mr. Harrison, you've shown the American people that you are a keeper of history, someone who cares about the history of things and knows how important they are to our collective heritage. During the sentencing, the judge said, in reality, you have taken part in the systematic looting and destruction of irreplaceable cultural sites for personal gain. This court cannot ignore the gravity of such actions in the days following the sentencing. Rick's lawyers immediately filed an appeal, saying that the sentence was too harsh and unconstitutional given the nonviolent nature of the crimes. They also asked that Rick be set free on bond until the appeal was heard, but their request was turned down, and pictures of Rick being led away in handcuffs were all over the news and social media. People had different reactions to Rick's guilt and sentence. Many longtime fans were shocked and said there must have been a mistake in the justice system. Others, especially those in the academic and cultural heritage groups, praised the harsh sentence as the right way to stop the lucrative trade in stolen artifacts. Rick's fans have come together in a way that has never been seen before to support him. The Hearts for Harrison movement has gathered more than 100,000 signatures calling for a review of Harrison's case. Supporters stress that his sentence was too harsh compared to other similar cases. We're not saying he shouldn't get in trouble if he broke the law, but Melissa Jenkins, a campaign organizer, says that a life term for a nonviolent crime doesn't show justice, it shows injustice. Vengeance. If you think Rick deserves a second chance, please sign the petition or give money to his legal defense fund. Even a small amount can help make sure he has the tools he needs for a strong appeal. Every prayer, every kind word, and every dollar given to his defense hurts. Corey said, "My dad did wrong, but he doesn't deserve to die in prison. He deserves the chance to make things right." The History Channel quickly made things clear between them. Rick officially ended Pawn Stars and took reruns off the network's immediate airing schedule. In a statement, the network said it was deeply disappointed in Rick's actions and reaffirmed its commitment to the legal and respectful treatment of historical artifacts and cultural heritage, despite his legal problems. Rick had a big effect on reality TV and the pawn business even before he got into trouble with the law. He had built a business empire that went far beyond the pawn shop. His desire to be an entrepreneur led him to open several restaurants and bars in Las Vegas, and he had plans to expand to other cities. His son now runs the gold and silver pawn shop. Corey Harrison is still a popular place for tourists to visit in Las Vegas, even though the number of visitors dropped at first after Rick was found guilty. In an emotional interview, Corey talked about how he has worked to rebrand the shop by putting an emphasis on being open and honest in all dealings and working with museums and schools to support ethical collecting. 6 months after his father was sentenced, Corey talked about how hard it is to keep the family business going and also addressed the valid concerns that were raised during the trial. He said that what happened was wrong and that they are committed to being part of the solution, not the problem. Chumlee had always seen Rick as a father figure and guide, and he has talked about how he feels about Rick in public. In a podcast interview, Rick said, "I learned so much from Rick about good business practices that I'll carry with me forever. But I've had to accept that there was another side to him that I never saw or maybe didn't want to see. It's been difficult for the Harrison family. They are still working to fix their business and reputation while helping Rick with his appeal. Corey is now in charge of the whole family." Enterprise has shown business sense that surprised many people who saw him mostly as Rick's sometimes reckless son on the show. Fans all over the world have sent Harrison's family an overwhelming amount of love and support. "Your words of support have been a lifeline for our father." Corey said in a recent press release that he reads every letter sent to him and finds strength in knowing that so many people still believe in him. "Rick needs your support more than ever." The family has set up prayer circles every Sunday outside the pawn shop where loyal fans gather to show support. If you can't make it to Las Vegas, the family encourages supporters to send letters, cards, or even photos of joyful moments from the show. These small acts make a huge difference to a man who is going through his darkest hours. "Everything I know about this job I learned from my dad." Corey said in a recent interview, "I'm trying to build on the good parts of that education. We made big mistakes, but this shop has been a part of Las Vegas for over 30 years, and I'm going to make sure it stays that way for another 30. The journey of Rick has been nothing short of amazing. He went from running a small pawn shop to becoming a reality TV star businessman and is now a guilty felon serving a life sentence. His sudden fall from famed businessman to disgraced public figure shows how quickly fortunes can change, especially in the harsh spotlight of fame. Cultural commentators have said that Rick's fall was almost Shakespearean, as he used historical artifacts to destroy himself. His story is now used to show how dangerous success can be. The temptations that come with success and the sometimes blurred lines between smart business and illegal behavior are also highlighted. As this story continues to unfold, we'll bring you all the latest news on this unprecedented case that has shocked reality TV and left a family business fighting for its survival without its charismatic leader in these tough times. If you're a fan of Pawn Stars and appreciate what Rick has brought to TV over the years, please send him your prayers, positive thoughts, and words of encouragement. Rick's family has set up a website where supporters can leave messages that will be sent to Rick in prison. Your kind words could significantly impact Rick during this challenging period in his life. The website also has an address for sending letters of support, with the family saying that hearing from fans has been Rick's main source of strength during this ordeal.